On July 2nd, 2017, India beat Pakistan in a World Cup game in Derby. After the match, a young pacer from the Pakistan team, Kainat Imtiaz, walked up to meet her idol. She went to her and said, "In 2005, I was the ball picker for the Asia Cup in Karachi. Seeing you bowl, something was born inside me and I decided to take up the sport." The person she was telling this story to was a bona fide legend. She was the highest wicket taker in world cricket and renowned as one of the fastest bowlers. Jhulan Goswami smiled back at Kainat and said, "Do you know I was the ball picker in the 1997 World Cup final?" The birth of the dream. To tell the story of Jhulan Goswami, we have to go back to a small town in West Bengal, 70 kilometers away from Kolkata. Born in a middle class family, Jhulan fell in love with cricket at the age of 10 after watching the 1992 Men's World Cup on television. She started playing cricket with her cousins in their backyard. Then came 1997. Australia and New Zealand played the final of the Women's World Cup at the Eden Gardens, packed with 50,000 people. When Australia's Belinda Clark lifted the trophy, a young Jhulan, the ball picker standing around the boundary, thought, "If I become a cricketer, I can someday win a World Cup for India." Chasing the dream. Now that Jhulan had realized her dream, it was time to start chasing it. But this is 1997. There aren't any cricket clubs for girls in Chakda. Even Kolkata didn't have too many. No one in Jhulan's family had ever thought of becoming a professional sports person. So not to anyone's surprise, her parents were against it. The one big reason was, for practicing every day, she would have had to travel to Kolkata for 2.5 hours one way on local trains and buses. Her parents didn't like the idea of her traveling alone that far, as she was just 15 years old. But her grandmother showed some support. She was a well-read and a tough woman who had lived through the partition era. She knew the meaning of freedom and made sure Jhulan, as a young girl, would never stop going after her dream. On her daily train journey, Jhulan would often be asked, "Don't you study? Are your parents mad that they are allowing you to do this?" The judgment often saddened her, but she would never give up. She knew she was different. She was tall. She could run like the wind and give nightmares to batters. She had a high arm action which caught the attention of her coach Sapan Sadhu. He knew he had found a raw material which could be nurtured and made into the world's finest. He went to Jhulan's parents to convince them to give him 2 years to work on her. Fortunately, her parents agreed. But the journey had just begun. It would take her days, months, and years to become the finished article. She kept giving her everything, day in and day out. In 2002, she made her debut for India just 5 years after deciding to take up cricket professionally. But the country wasn't paying attention to her hard work yet. So close, yet so far. In 2005, she met Belinda Clark again, but this time in a World Cup final in Centurion. Her dream was just a step away. But as cruel as the world is, the team which made her realize her dream of winning a World Cup ended up defeating her side in the final. It took her another 12 years to have another shot. In 2017, India played England at the Lords in London. Jhulan ended up with figures of 10 overs, 3 maidens, 23 runs and 3 wickets. Her efforts ensured that the hosts were restricted to a smallish total. Despite that, Jhulan and her team faltered at the last lap, losing by just 9 runs. In 2009, she had thought about retiring, but even after the heartbreak at the Lords, she didn't give up. Only this time, the country paid attention. The last shot at the dream. In 2022, Jhulan celebrates the 20th anniversary of her India career, which could probably be her last. But to be effective as a fast bowler for this long is incredible. To put that into perspective, when Jhulan started, Sourav Ganguly was yet to go shirtless at Lord's. MS Dhoni was still a TC in Kharagpur. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was still the Prime Minister of India. Nokia 3310 was the latest in the market. T20 cricket didn't exist, and Udit Narayan was still mainstream. 340 international wickets later, Jhulan is still a star and a legend of the game. And she did all of that coming from a middle-class Bengali family with little or no means, with no expertise in strength and conditioning like today, and with no idol to look up to in her trade. Today, she goes onto the field tapped up from various places, making sure she's fit enough to bowl 60 good deliveries. Jhulan has carried on for one thing, the dream which she realized that evening in 1997, a World Cup win. Maybe what she didn't dream of was being the fastest bowler in the world, holder of several records, an inspiration to a generation, and 20 years as an international fast bowler. In 2022, she takes her last shot at that dream.